Hello and welcome to another one video. What if Megalodon was alive? If Megalodon was alive today, things would be bad. For Megalodon. The population of large whales is far smaller, thanks to industrial whaling, than what was during Megalodon's time. Those modern whales that do remain are not the same as the archaic whales Megalodon was used to hunting. They are significantly smarter, with more sophisticated behaviors, including defensive behaviors and migratory behaviors. The replacement of the ancient whales with the ancestors of modern whales is one of the factors that have been hypothesized to have contributed to Megalodon's extinction 2 million years ago. In short, there will be fewer large whales for Megalodon to eat, and those whales will be harder to find and harder to kill. Megalodon would almost certainly have very little chance of ambushing any modern whale species capable of echolocation, so sperm whales and all the dolphins are off the menu, except as carcasses for scavenging. Megalodon's modern population would thus be much smaller than what it once was, and individual Megalodon would always be at much higher risk for starvation. Adult Megalodon would also face intense competition from orca. And a pod of orca, using their intelligence and teamwork, should have no problem outfighting a lone adult Megalodon most of the time, driving it out of their hunting territory or stealing kills from it. Orca would also be a huge threat to juvenile Megalodon. Juvenile Megalodon would themselves face intense competition from modern great white and tiger sharks. They would have overlapping size ranges and would target similar prey, and the adult sharks would have a big advantage in experience. The Achilles' heel of almost every badass species, ever, are their young. It doesn't matter how mighty you might be as an adult if you don't have a good chance of surviving that long. And then there are the humans. Adult Megalodon would undoubtedly pose a threat to small and medium-sized human ships that are in the same size ranges as whales. Megalodon is liable to attack them the same way great whites attack surfers. Does that mean humans wouldn't venture out to sea in small and medium-sized boats? Not a chance. If predation by polar bears did not stop humans from exploring the Arctic, the presence of a 50-foot shark will not stop humans from sailing the far more lucrative tropical and subtropical seas. There's too much money to be made there. No, what humans will do instead is arm their ships. Every ship will be equipped with shark-detecting radar, a deck gun or harpoon, and some might even have torpedoes. Military or Coast Guard ships will be deployed to sweep popular shipping lanes of sharks. And any Megalodon that dared to approach a ship would be summarily blown out of the water. We would kill these poor sharks with extreme prejudice, just as we have killed every other animal that has dared to interfere with our economic bottom line. Some jurisdictions might try to preserve the sharks, making regulations requiring avoidance and deterrence rather than outright slaughter, but not all, and the oceans are a big place and poorly policed. Large ships would also pose the same ship strike threat to Megalodon as they currently do to whales. Still more would be threatened by bycatch and trophy hunting. And the shark fin soup industry would decimate still more, particularly juveniles. If Megalodon was alive today, it would be a virtual miracle if they were not extinct again within 50 years, even if some humans tried to protect them. Was there an animal which can defeat Megalodon? Believe it or not, there's a handful of animals. But first let's start with Megalodon size. No, it's not 20 meters and weighing 100 tons. New estimates put this animal at 15 meters and weighing 30-50 tons. It's not the largest fish, but it was close. Now let's get to the animal list, first starting off with modern day. First, let's start with the largest animal alive today. May have not been the largest due to two giant Ichthyosaurs have been estimated to be larger, I'll get more about them later. A fully mature female blue whale measures 33 meters and weighing 200 tons, making it 4 times as large as the biggest Megalodon. What make it even harder to beat is that it traveled in small groups. Heck, they can probably ram a Megalodon if felt threatened. Can you imagine an angry mother seeing a Megalodon trying to kill its calf? It's likely Megalodon would scavenge from its remains. Next up, the most powerful predatory animal alive today, the sperm whale. The females may not be on this list. We are talking about the bulls, fully grown male. They have one of the loudest sounds of any animal. It's so loud it can stun a human and giant squid. So a bull sperm whale can easily stun a Megalodon. Heck, they can hold their breath for over an hour. Megalodon can only attack them if their breathing area, so yeah, a sperm whale would win most of the time. Also, not to mention, they have sharper teeth than the females. Another member on the modern-day animal list is Colossal Squid. Yep, this guy can defeat if not kill a Megalodon. They have both arms and tentacles. Unlike the giant squid, they have sharp hooks. Yeah, So getting hurt by one could cause serious damage. Look at that sperm whale, it looks pretty beat up but still won the fight. This is what the giant squid did. Colossal squid would have been far worse. If you want to see how the battle might have looked like, check out this video. Also, if Colossal Squid gets on top of the Megalodon and slashes the gills several times, Megalodon is fishy meat, or in this case Jaws meat, bad joke. But what if Colossal Squid ambushes Megalodon, like in the picture below? Well, the Megalodon would with no doubt lose that fight. The giant squid is on the list, I have been debating if I should add it or not. So like the Colossal Squid, these guys have some deadly weapons. Being more sleeker than the Colossal Squid, it would be harder to catch. Those serrated cutting edges can cause some serious beating, it would be more deadly for a shark. One slash at the gills can cause a lot of damage to the shark. Now it's time for prehistoric animals. Boy, there's a lot more than modern day. Colossus, let's start from the strongest like we did on the modern day list. The larger of the two giant Ichthyosaurs and was over 30% larger than the Lil Stock Monster. These animals probably never stopped growing, so this is a real-life kaiju as you ask me. Not to mention, they were deep divers, so a megalodon attacking these guys will end being a suicide. Also, if it reached another 3 meters, it would have weighed over 300 tons. Nature may have finally released the kraken. Yes, I'm talking about the Triassic kraken. This was probably the largest cephalopod and the smartest as well. You may call me crazy, but in 2013 they found the beak of the animal. If so, then the author estimates it was 30 meters long. It killed 9 Shanosaurus. We don't know why, but it's probably it was trying to defend itself. For example, in a tank an octopus killed all sharks that lived in the tank, so this guy most likely existed. If it does exist, it's unknown if it's an octopus or a squid or some ancestor to squids. Lil Stock Monster is the next one on the list. This anime measured 26-30 meters long and probably weighed the same as the blue whale. An animal this size is already way too much for a 15-meter, 50-ton shark. Nothing much to say. Ichthyosaurus was another animal on the list. It can reach 70 feet long and weigh 70 tons. This animal mainly ate plankton, so a high chance Megalodon can attack it. But massive size comes in. If the Ichthyosaurus feels threatened and wants to fight, Megalodon will run for its money. Nothing much to say other than getting tail smacked or rammed by the animal. Shanosaurus is actually on the list. This 15-meter-long ichthyosaur was the same size of Megalodon was even match up. Anyways, like modern-day sperm whales, they dive deep to hunt squid. So they can hold their breath for over an hour, so Megalodon would have a hard time fighting this guy. Not to mention, even at night Megalodon would have a hard time. These guys' eyes were designed to see in dark water. Not to mention, a poke at the gills could be fatal. Giant Mexican plesiosaur monster of Araberry was probably the largest plesiosaur of all time. It could have measured 11-18 meters and weighing 50 tons, although fossil is scarce. Like ambushing aquatic predators, they come from below and attack from below. When hunting larger prey, it probably tried to make them bleed out, but I doubt that because it had bone-crushing jaws. Although Megalodon does have a more powerful bite, it was faster than its rival. So huge advantage against a 50-ton shark. Not to mention, one fin or one bite to the gill, game over. However, it had been killed by a larger member of the species, so the larger member yet to be found would have measured 25 meters. Sorry if the list is long, but we have 7 more to go, so hang in there. Next up is Megalodon greatest reptilian rival, Mosasaurus. Yes, this guy could beat Megalodon if we look realistically. These guys hunted like orcas according to a new study. Did mosasaurs hunt like killer whales? If so, then it's possible that they can sense a Megalodon nearby. For example, their tongue can probably measure heat, so it can sense a Megalodon trying to ambush it or going to a fight. Heck, Mosasaurus were designed for head-on combat's unlikely Megalodon. Tylosaurus is finally added to my list. Like giant squid, I had been debating if I should add it. This mosasaur was very large, measuring 15 meters, possibly even up to 16 meters, and weighing as much as 20 tons. Like Mosasaurus, they hunted like orcas. Think Megalodon can catch this guy? Well, think again, Tylosaurus was so much faster and was more intelligent. If it bites the Megalodon like in the picture, it could break its spine. Plesiosaurus Aka Predator X thought I was going to forget him? Well, I nearly did, but let's get to the reason. They were much faster and most likely had more fighting experience. Why did I say that? There wasn't really very big whales around Megalodon's time. The largest whale Megalodon hunted was 20 meters and probably was smaller in mass, but past Megalodon in length. It hunted the large fish, Lichthys, and coexisted with its smaller cousin Liopluridon. Largest specimens are said to be slightly over 10 meters, but only weighed about 2 tons, that's what I heard. Megalodon stands a chance, but Plesiosaurus would win since like mosasaurs, they hunted like orcas. Not to mention, it was smarter, although only as smart as a great white shark, which made it smarter than many fish. The only fish I can see beating a megalodon is Lichthys. This guy measured 17 meters and weighed over 50 tons, however, they never stopped growing, so 80-foot-long specimens are unlikely but possible. They are also faster than megalodon, so, yeah. Ancient bony fish that was larger than a whale shark and a fast swimmer, so getting rammed or slapped at the face by the tail is likely last but not least. Livyutin, megalodon's real-life rival. This guy measured 17 meters, but if we compare it to sperm whale sizes, it would have been 13.44 meters. Which seems more likely, due to its relative being measured using sperm whale sizes. So yeah, foot-long teeth can cause serious damage. Not to mention, like Mosasaurus, Mexican plesiosaur, and Plesiosaurus, they can flip over the megalodon, this will prevent it from breathing. Also not to mention, they probably mainly lived alone or in small groups or pairs. So it's likely they can tear a megalodon apart if it's trying to kill their calf. Next is the animals that have a close chance of beating or in this cause finning the megalodon, however they don't win most of the time. Jubitensis is on this list, although this picture has the megalodon. Jubitensis is the only shark that can beat a megalodon. They are very close in size. Jubitensis measured 12.2 meters long, however according to me a 14-meter-long specimen is very possible and weighed 35 tons. Although a megalodon could beat this guy, the verdict is around 55%. Bacillussaurus is on the list as well. Bacillussaurus is actually very strong for a whale. It may be smaller than megalodon, but it was longer and was close in weight, weighing 30 tons. Although in a fight, megalodon would win 60% of the time. Why did the megalodon become extinct? Many used to think megalodon went extinct due to climate change, but a newer theory moves away from that belief. The great white shark and killer whale. Their ancestors have been thought to have caused the extinction of the great megalodon. Around the time of the megalodon's extinction, many smaller marine mammal species disappeared. In addition, new predators emerged, such as the ancestors of great whites and killer whales, meaning increased competition for the remaining food sources. It is thought that the megalodon went extinct when it was outcompeted by these two new predators. You see, the world is always changing and bigger isn't always better. Sometimes the smaller animals win out, as we have seen in the case of megalodon. What are the odds of a megalodon shark surviving still in the dark depths of the ocean? I'll give you 4 lines of evidence for this. Whales. Megalodon ate whales, probably hunting them in a manner similar to what modern great white sharks hunt seals. But not all attacks are successful. We have studied and hunted whales for centuries. We would see horrible scars on the whales from unsuccessful attacks, and megalodons would have followed whaling ships in hopes of getting scraps or stealing carcasses like modern sharks once did. Teeth. Sharks shed teeth constantly, and these teeth wash up on beaches constantly. And megalodon was a predator that lived throughout the world. We would see shed teeth washing up on shores were megalodons still around. But we don't. Fossils. Fossils of megalodon abruptly stop in the Pliocene, coinciding with the appearance of orcas, which may have outcompeted them, and the beginning of the last ice age, which drove the whales megalodon hunted to areas where the giant shark could not follow, being a warm water animal. Should it have lived to modern times, we would see fossils more recent than the Pliocene. Boats. Again, comparing this ancient beast to modern white sharks, the most feared carnivore still living often attacks humans on surfboards when it mistakes them for seals in murky water. Surely its giant relative would have done the same with sailing ships when it thought them whales. But there is no evidence for this ever happening. While the initial impact would have caused casualties, megalodon would not have bothered with prey so small as humans, and ancient mariners did not sail very far from shore. People would have survived to tell the tale. The deep sea is also not a hospitable place for a giant shark. More reasons. Pressure. Not all animals can survive down there because of the sheer weight of the water column above them. Most sharks can't handle it. Food. Again, megalodon ate whales. The only large whale that regularly comes down to the depths is the sperm whale, a giant, powerful, and dangerous animal that orcas usually prefer to avoid. Megalodon was an ambush predator, so pitched battles with such a beast seem ill-advised, especially given how acrobatic sperm whales are. So megalodon would be far better off in shallower waters, hunting smaller baleen whales. It likely went for Cetatherium and similar-sized animals in the prehistoric past. Light. Megalodon was closely related to present-day great white sharks. These powerful killers use sight a lot, spyhopping to spot prey on the surface and tending to accidentally attack humans much more in murkier dark waters. But down in the ocean depths, there is no light. So how is Megalodon to find food? In conclusion, a Megalodon would be crushed if it lived at the bottom of the ocean, and even if it were not, it would starve to death. Further, there is no evidence for its continued existence in the form of shed teeth, vanishing boats, or scars on prey animals. Megalodon is extinct, and I am 100% sure. Could we genetically modify a shark to bring back their extinct species like Megalodon? If so, how would the ecosystem in the ocean change? Any modern species genetically modified to replace Megalodon wouldn't be the genuine article, so the short answer is already no. It may look like a duck and quack like a duck, but in this case, it is not a duck. If we could get all the proportions right, I don't see too much issue with actually modifying a great white, but why? As for the ecosystem, this would be massively destructive. You're familiar with the way the humble cane toad wrought havoc on Australia's native species, right? It's an extremely low-level predator. It's toxic to eat, so anything that tried would croak, oi, the puns, I'm sorry. Similarly, feral cats and pigs are doing a number on it as well. The only success story is the dingo, who were once domestic dogs and have fully integrated. But that's only because the thylacine spot in the ecosystem was vacant and dogs were close enough to fill the gap with little incident. I'd personally predict a mass extinction event brought on by this uncontrolled super predator being released, followed by one of two possibilities. They starve themselves out, reducing available prey to either too small a size to catch or too low a population to sustain their new habitat, or something adapts to eat them. I'd look at giant and colossal squid for this job, as they could just come up from underneath, grab them, and gnaw through their bellies. Brutal regardless, the ocean's ecology would be way out of whack for a long time to come. If a real Megalodon existed, would it bother eating something as small as a single human? We don't entirely know the answer to that. The larger a creature gets, the greater its tendency to eat really small things, plankton, krill, plants, etc. There are of course exceptions. The Megalodon seems to have been one. It seems to have fed quite readily on the larger species of cetaceans that probably lumbered around the oceans. As the Miocene came to a close, a lot of the larger oceanic megafauna died. That probably killed off the Megalodon because it couldn't swim as fast and as long as the smaller proto-dolphins that, to this day, are the most efficient swimmers in the oceans, moving faster and longer than their next competitor, the tuna. I'm not sure how well substantiated this is, but it appears that the collision of the North American and South American plates really did change the world in a lot of ways, perhaps contributing to the rather rapid glaciation cycles that gave us our edge, and it shut off part of the migration path of a lot of larger animals, including the Megalodon's food source. As such, a hungry Megalodon would eat a human. But today, it would probably more than likely do well in the oceans, given the larger megafauna and the fact that humans don't hunt the larger whales for blubber any longer. Can Megalodon still be found? Megalodon. Carcharicles. Megalodon status. Extinct time period. 23 to 2.6 million years ago, the early Miocene to the end of the Pliocene, the taxonomy of Megalodon. Some like me argue or claim that Megalodon belongs to the Lamnidae family and is closely related to the great white shark, while others argue that they belong to the extinct shark family called Otodontidae. The likeness of Megalodon. The current scientific study says that they look more like a heavily built version of the great white, though it may also have looked quite similar to the basking shark or the sand tiger shark. Length 24 to 18 meters long, weight 60 tons, body mass 48 metric tons, swimming speed 11 miles per hour, 18 kilometers per hour, bite force 110,000 to 180,000 newtons. Their teeth is very strong and thick, built for grabbing prey and breaking bone. Habitat. Cosmopolitan and distribution, read, see or refer. Carcharicles. Megalodon. To know about the distribution of their fossil worldwide, particularly confined in subtropical to temperate latitudes. Prey relationship. Unlike the modern sharks, which are predominant opportunistic feeders, the Megalodon was an apex predator and mostly preyed on cetacean species like whales, dolphins, larger sea turtles, etc. Competition. Megalodon during its existence had many competitors in its environment. Megalodon were contemporaneous with whale-eating odontocetes, particularly macropredatory sperm whales and squalodontids, which were also probably among the era's apex predators and provided competition. The primitive or proto-killer whales like Orcinus sitiniensis and ancient sperm whales like Livyatan melville are to name a few, which likely contributed to Megalodon's extinction. The reasons for extinction. Actually, Megalodon preferred to live on warmer waters, and during the beginning of the Ice Age, which results in the oceanic cooling might have affected its nursing areas to decline. This in turn also reduces the diversity of whales and other such primary food sources of Megalodon. By the late Miocene, around 11 million years ago, macropredatory sperm whales experienced a significant decline in abundance and diversity. However, other hyper-predatory cetaceans began to emerge during the Pliocene to fill this ecological void, such as the killer whale. The killer whales become a great threat and challenge to the already endangered megalodons. All these factors are considered to be the main reasons for their extinction. From all the above details we can understand that they, megalodons, dominated all the oceans of the world. They were one of the most powerful apex predator, and definitely the current oceans would be a dead zone if they would have existed now. But likely, we don't, or at least for now, have evidence for the existence of Megalodon or some other similar prehistoric creatures in our seas. As I have mentioned about the taxonomic debate about Megalodon, I'm one of those who believe that Megalodon belongs to the shark family called Lamnidae and is closely related to the current mighty great white. Because the biological specimen, the evolutionary theory and the geological changes supports this theory. Neither Megalodon evolved into the great white shark due to the climatic and geological changes nor went extinct. So far now, the great whites are considered to be the biggest predatory shark to exist. Some say that the Megalodon evolved as the Pacific sleeper shark or the Greenland shark, which can easily be refuted, but with some core biology, we can't completely avoid these theories too. So, for now the existence of Megalodon in our seas is not possible. Thank you for watching. Please don't forget to like, share, subscribe the video.